I am so excited. Today I'm talking about space, and if you know me that well, you know how much I love space. It is one of the coolest things ever, and if you don't know why it is so super cool, or why space and space exploration is important, hopefully you'll find out by the end of this video. So, first thing I want to talk about, since it's kind of going around right now, is the dust cloud. Ooh, the dust cloud from the Sahara. 2020 dust cloud. A dust cloud comes over from the Saharan desert every single year. This is from the NASA.gov website. It says that it is completely normal. Dust clouds come over from the Saharan desert every single year. They play an important role in fertilizing the area around the Amazon. And then also, it actually helps create and keep the beaches in the Caribbean with sand and dirt. So that's pretty cool. They did say that it is a little bit more than normal, a little bit above average, but it's just like any other kind of air pollutant. If you have respiratory issues, if you're at risk for respiratory things, obviously take that into account when you're outside and whatnot. But yeah, so I feel like people are freaking out about that a lot more than they should be. I mean, here in the Tri-Cities in Tennessee, it is a little hazy outside. And when it rains, and then on my car, and then my car dries, my car's kind of dirty. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. So, if anybody has been hearing anything about that, or you're freaking out about the dust storm, don't be. Not a big deal. Okay, so there's so much space in space. I don't think that people understand how much is actually out there, distance-wise. The actual numerical amount of stars and planets and things floating around out there is absolutely insane. But I wanted to talk about. I'm looking at my notes and stuff, so I'm not pro enough yet to just keep it all up here, because then I'll start ranting and rambling like I always do. Distances. I don't think people fully fathom how big the universe is, even our own solar system. So this is also on the NASA.gov website, and this is scaling it down. So they say that they shrunk the solar system down to the size of a football field, meaning like distance-wise. So if you lined up all the planets away from the sun, it'd be a football field length. So in this scale, the sun is a ball, obviously. Everything's spherical. The Earth is not flat. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's not flat. Let's see. The sun is about 17. There we go. Perfect. The sun they made in this scale is 17 millimeters in diameter. That's pretty small. That's the width of a dime. I don't think I have any dimes laying around, but you know how big a dime is. It's pretty small. And that's the sun. That's the biggest thing in our solar system by a lot. The sun makes up 99.86% of the entire solar system's mass. That's a lot of mass. So the sun would be sitting on the goal line, okay? I'm not going to go through every single planet because it's pointless. I'm just going to give you the highlights. Mercury, which is the closest planet to the sun, is 0.8 yards from the sun in this scale. So, which in real life, it's 35 million miles. So, in Mercury's diameter is 0.06 millimeters, which it says is scarcely as large as the point of a needle. So you got to imagine that the sun is over here, that is as big as a dime. I really messed up not having coins. The sun is as big of a dime sitting on the goal line, and then 0.8 yards away, which is roughly like 2.6, 2.7 feet, something like that, is, it is 2.6, all right. the Mercury is 2.6 feet away, so about this far away. And Mercury in this scale model is so small that you couldn't even see it through this video. It's literally less, I mean, it's 0.06 millimeters. That's really tiny. Next is the Earth, which is a little bit larger than it says Venus. It says the Earth would be 0.16 millimeters in diameter. The largest width of the entire planet is only 0.16 millimeters in this scale. Keep in mind that the Sun is 17 millimeters. So you're talking 100 times smaller, right? And the Earth is on the 2-yard line. It's only 6 feet away. Let's see. The asteroid belt, which comes after Mars, is about between 4 and 8 yards. Okay, it says the 4th and the 8-yard lines. So yeah, 4 and 8 yards. So still not that far away on our scale. You get out to Pluto, 79 yards. Now remember, the sun is the biggest thing in the solar system. It is, let's see, it is it's the biggest in this scale. Let's see, is Jupiter the biggest planet? Yeah, Jupiter's the biggest planet. Jupiter's only 1.75 millimeters. So you're talking the sun is 10 times bigger than Jupiter, okay? And it's only 17 millimeters. So your sun's that wide. And it's sitting on the goal line of a football field. And 97 yards away is Pluto. Excuse me, 79 yards away is Pluto. 79 yards when the sun is that big. And Pluto is 79 yards away. That's a long distance. Voyager 1 is a spacecraft that NASA launched a long time ago. It has hit escape velocity from the solar system, from the sun, which means that it has left the solar system. Voyager 1 would be out in the stadium parking lot, which is what it says. Voyager 1 travels 890,000 miles a day. It's cooking! That's going super fast. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a little bit better understanding how big our solar system is. And you're talking a very, very tiny, infinitesimally small portion of our galaxy, which is a very, very small portion of the local cluster, which is a very, very small portion of the local supercluster, which is a very small portion of, there's one bigger part, and then it's the entire universe. Look up some pictures of the Hubble telescope. Google the Hubble telescope points at dark spot in the sky. So you can't see any stars in this part of the sky from the Hubble telescope, but it captured photos, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photos of this one small part of the sky that was completely dark. And turns out, eventually, if you know anything about photography, the longer you leave your lens open and the more photos you capture of the same spot, the more light will come through. So it started having light show up in the background, little points of light. And at first they thought it was stars, but it was entire galaxies. A black spot of the sky where you can't see any light. And then eventually, with so many pictures, not only can you see what you think are stars, but it's actually full galaxies, and there's hundreds of them. And that's way out there. I mean, you're talking, so space, the universe, is expanding, right? It's always expanding constantly. It's constantly growing. So this, on the NASA website, again, I'm getting 90% of my information from the NASA website. Let's see. They predicted that it is expanding at 41.6 miles per second, which is 9%. No, excuse me. It's actually expanding 9% faster than the prediction of 41.6 miles per second. That's a lot. It's cooking. It's moving. And that kind of brings me to, let's see. I want to talk about why this is important. You may hear people say, "Well, why does it matter if we're going to space? Why does it matter to go to the moon or to Mars or to launch these things or to pump so much money into NASA or the EU space program or whoever? Why is it important?" Um, First of all, let's just talk about some inventions that have come about because of either the space race or just NASA's continued investment and research to try and push the bounds and push the limits of what we can do in space. So this is from the jpl.nasa.gov website. JPL is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. They do a lot of they build a lot of they build a lot of the components for a lot of NASA's rockets and that sort of thing. Let's see. So I'm going to put links for everything in the comments or the description, so you can kind of look into this because I'm just kind of blow through it real fast. Camera phones. They were trying to create cameras small enough to fit on the spacecrafts, and it says that a third of all cameras still contain this technology that they use for that. Scratch-resistant lenses. I wear contacts and glasses, so having scratch-resistant lenses, pretty nice. CAT scans, that's pretty nice. I got an MRI a couple weeks ago, so that's cool. LEDs, landmine removal. They've been removing a bunch of landmines on the lunar surface, so they needed to figure out how to do that. That's not true. Let's see, some portions of suit construction technology went into the eventual athletic shoes, like Nikes and that sort of thing. Let's see, water purification systems, obviously. When the astronauts are up there, they need water, and it's a lot easier to just reuse and purify their pee instead of just bringing up gallons and gallons and gallons of water because that's super heavy. And getting to space is all about your thrust to weight ratio. So you're wanting to have a high thrust to weight ratio, which means you want to have as much thrust as possible with the lowest amount of weight and mass possible. That means that you can get a lot more into space. Let's see here. Ear thermometers. Everybody checking their temperature for COVID. If you're using an ear thermometer, thank NASA. Home insulation. That's cool. The jaws of life. If you ever been in a car wreck and they had to hook up that hydraulic thing and pry you out of there, thank NASA for that. Wireless headsets. Don't even need to go into that. Memory foam. Memory foam was actually, it says it was developed in the 1970s to help make airline pilot seats more comfortable. They were later installed in the space shuttles. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, freeze-dried food. Baby formula. Baby formulas now contain a nutritional enrichment ingredient, the origins of which can be traced back to NASA-sponsored research that explored the use of algae for long-duration space travel. That's pretty cool. Artificial limbs, with all of the different landers and everything that they've built, a lot of that technology has gone into making prosthetics a lot better. Let's see. This also says the computer mouse. I've watched the movie Jobs with Ashton Kutcher about Steve Jobs, and they never said anything about the computer mouse in that. They didn't say that it had anything to do with NASA, so I would like to believe .gov, but I'm not. I'm just reading what it says. And it also says the portable computer. By adapting the grid compass, the first portable laptop. There's a lot of things that NASA didn't, or whoever, they didn't necessarily say, I've invented this mouse, but they've invented so many things that go into what would make up a mouse or a portable computer or a prosthetic limb, that sort of thing. So whenever you're having to push the limits of what you can physically do and what we can do as a human race, you're always going to be coming up with new stuff. And that's always going to, 99% of the time, going to benefit the human race. So space is very hostile. So we're always having to come up with new stuff to work with that. So there's a lot of stuff that's been invented because of space. Awesome. Resources. There's a bunch of resources in space. Asteroids carry a bunch of minerals, a bunch of metals and minerals. There's a planet, I want to say it's Neptune, Saturn. So, Saturn, let's see, it's very, very possible. I don't think that it's confirmed yet, but it's very. This one says on Neptune. Saturn or Neptune. Point is, one of the planets in our solar system, it actually has the right environment to rain literal diamonds. Now, eventually, if we can capture those, the diamond market in Earth is going to plummet. So, hopefully, within the next 20 years, we can start harvesting some of those diamonds. So, whenever I get married, it'll be cheaper. Just keep that in mind, whoever my future wife is. Let's see. Asteroids, they carry a bunch of, what I was talking about earlier. There's a bunch of planets and asteroids and all kinds of crazy stuff out there that we can eventually one day that we can harvest those resources. And especially when it comes to like asteroids or planets that don't have any life on them, which as of right now is all of them that we've noticed. We haven't found life on other planets. So there's not really, like it would be more difficult to say don't do that because it's just an asteroid. And who knows, one day it could get knocked off course and come slam into Earth and kill everybody. So why not mine it? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's a bunch of resources out there. And also, if you just care about the future of the human race in general, now, if all you care about is yourself and what's going on in your life at this time period, then this probably won't matter to you. But personally, I think that the future of the human race in general is important. So, being able to become a multi-planetary species would be crazy. That would be huge because that would give us a lot more options. We could grow faster, we could learn more, we could advance as a civilization and as a species more. Plus, if we, like I was talking about earlier with the resources, if we can get to those other planets, who knows? We could discover something that we haven't found yet that could actually make life easier back on Earth. If you're a huge proponent for climate change, you could find something out on another planet that could make a serious difference back here and help with that sort of thing. Or if the world's going to end because of climate change, like you believe, then we gotta get out of here. It's important, like the stuff that's been invented, the resources, the future of the human race. It's all important. Now, this blows my mind. I can't even believe this. If you think back all the things that NASA has done, okay? During the space race, the shuttle missions, the Apollo missions, getting people onto the moon multiple times, the International Space Station, that's a multi-country project, but NASA's a big part of it, okay? The United States. NASA has done a lot. They've come up with a lot. They've accomplished a lot. They've done amazing things. NASA's budget for the 2020 fiscal year, their budget is $22.6 billion with a B. Now you may think, wow, that's a lot. That is 0.49% of the United States annual budget. So if the entire United States budget is $1, NASA is getting less than half of a penny. And we landed men on the moon. Now, I don't know what the budget was back then. Probably should have looked that up. But it was probably, I don't know what it would be like with inflation, but it was probably less than $22.6 billion. Let's see. Literally, imagine what they could do with a full penny. I mean, you could literally do so much with that. Mars, piece cake. Done. That's a wrap. So, let's see. Ooh. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to have to take back what I said a minute ago. That's my bad. I'm fake news. I can't even believe it. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I became the villain. Okay, Their budget, NASA's budget peaked in 64 to 66 when it consumed roughly 4% of all federal spending. In 1973, NASA submitted congressional testimony reporting the total cost of Project Apollo as $25.4 billion, which is $153 billion in today's money. So shout out to inflation. But that is for the entire program. And the entire program was multiple years. So let's see. It was 61 to 72. Yeah, so that 11 to 12 years. And that was, I shouldn't have clicked off of that. 11 to 12 years, and the total budget was 153. So call it about 10 to 12 billion dollars a year. That's about half of what the budget is now. And we got to the moon. Now that we have the Space Force, NASA needs a budget boost. Okay? Okay. Let's see. What's the time at? 21 minutes. Yikes. All right, cool. I'm moving on to the last thing I want to talk about. You guys have been troopers if you've been here this long. SpaceX. SPACEX. People think I say SpaceX. So I thought I'd spell it out. SpaceX. If you don't know what it is, it's a private company owned by Elon Musk, the owner of Tesla. I'm not going to give his background. You can look it up. SpaceX is a private company doing some incredible stuff. If you haven't been keeping up with it, if you haven't heard about it, if you haven't seen some of the stuff you've been doing, I don't know where you've been living, but it had to have been under the biggest rock on this planet. Most recently, other than the 2 or 3 launches since then that were completely successful, SpaceX launched Americans to the International Space Station from American soil for the first time since 2009. It's been since the shuttle program, which got shut down, 2009, 2010, somewhere around there. So not only is it the first time that we've launched Americans from American soil, but the first time that we did it was by a private company and not NASA. That's huge. That's a huge deal. Plus, SpaceX, one of their missions is to make interplanetary travel a reality. And to get to that, one of the biggest things that you have to do is make it affordable. And so what they've been doing for affordability is learning how to reuse their rockets. So they will launch, the way that a rocket works, whenever you're launching a satellite or something into a what's called LEO, low Earth orbit, that's where most of like communication satellites and stuff hang out. They're in low Earth orbit. The International Space Station, low Earth orbit. To do that, you need a 3-staged rocket. You need your initial stage, which is your biggest stage. That's going to get you out of the chunkiest parts of the atmosphere. So you're going to launch up, you're going to go up and start going like this, okay? And the Earth is obviously, circular. Whenever that stage runs out of fuel because of math, that stage detaches and the rest of the rocket keeps going. And so you have your second stage, which is your booster that's going to circularize your orbit, which means you're going to get into, instead of just a kind of like a semicircle, because if all you have is that first stage, it ain't got enough juice to get you into full orbit. So you're going to go up and then you're going to come back down. And you don't want that. The second stage, instead of going like this, it gets this and just keeps it going. So it propels, it adds propulsion, and it gets you into a full orbit. Finally, that stage separates, and what you have left is your payload. Whatever it is. People, satellites, a Tesla Roadster, whatever you want it to be. So, to save a lot of money, they started trying to land that initial booster. There are a bunch of videos of this online, and they are incredible. They are autonomously landing these boosters back on land and back on barges in the middle of the ocean. The barge and the rocket will talk to each other, and through telemetry, they will meet up, and the rocket will come back after it's been in space and land on top of the barge. They'll tow the barge back into land, and they'll refurbish and reuse the rocket, saving tens of millions of dollars per launch. That's a lot of money that they're saving. Now, Falcon Heavy is super cool. The main rocket that SpaceX uses for 99% of their launches so far has been the Falcon 9. And it's a beast. It is a large rocket. It's not the biggest rocket ever, but if you ever see the pictures of someone standing next to one, it's incredible. It'll blow your mind. The Falcon Heavy is essentially 3 of the Falcon 9s strapped together. So instead of having 9 engines, it's got 27. And that can launch payload all the way to Mars. So Elon Musk and the team at SpaceX, whenever you're building a new rocket, you have to do a payload test. And normally what that entails is the company will load a bunch of concrete blocks into the payload area to simulate a weight. Elon, being Elon, said forget that. And he launched his own personal Tesla Roadster with a dummy sitting in the driver's seat wearing the SpaceX flight suit, their own space suit, and it looks super cool. And during the test, they were trying to re-land all 3 boosters. The 2 side ones that separated first, both of those landed in sync together back on land. When you see the video, and you need to see the video, it'll give you chills. It is absolutely incredible. You can hear the crowd screaming in the background. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. I love space so much. Center booster had a malfunction. I think like one of the throttles got stuck or something and ended up splashing down hard. I think 100. It was 50 to 100 meters away from the barge. However, on their second Falcon Heavy launch, they landed all 3. So that's pretty good statistics there. And they are preparing. Their goal is to launch an astronaut to Mars, fairly soon, within the next good handful of years. 5 to 10 years, they're wanting boots on Mars. 10 to 15 years ago, no one would have ever even thought about that. And they're getting close rapidly. It's extremely exciting. Looking at what they're doing, I could sit here and talk for hours about space. It's incredible. Everything that's out there, the different kinds of stars, the black holes, how much is physically out there, it's incredible. If pictures of different, just groups of gases that are burning so hot out in space, that are creating different colors and all sorts of craziness. Space is super, super cool, and highly suggest you look into it. I mean, it's incredible. There's so much out there that we don't know about. There's so much out there that is just waiting to be explored, waiting to have the first human step there and be there. We've never put humans outside of the orbit of the moon, that distance. And that's just this little baby bit of our solar system. You remember when I was talking about the distances. It's just this little baby bit of our solar system that we've explored. And there's so much more in our solar system. And then beyond that, there's so much. There's just so much out there. It's incredible. I'm going to leave links to all the NASA articles that I was looking at. When it comes to the dust cloud, the distances, the budget, and the inventions. I'm going to leave all those. And then I'm also going to leave a couple video links, YouTube links for SpaceX stuff. I'm going to leave one compilation of all their crashes before they actually landed a rocket back. I'm going to also post the full version of the Falcon Heavy first test flight. That one, it starts with like T-minus 30 on the countdown, so obviously you can fast forward. I would suggest fast forwarding to about T-minus 1 minute before the launch. You get to hear all the call-outs from Flight Command, and you get to hear the crowd in the background, and watch it all the way through until the third booster actually misses the landing, and you'll get the gist of it. You get to see the two side boosters land, and you get to see the fairing deploy around the Tesla Roadster. The fairing is just something. It's an aerodynamic shell that basically protects whatever the payload is, and also makes the rocket more aerodynamic. So there you go. That's what a fairing is. So I'd highly, highly suggest wearing that, watching that. Excuse me. They also have just like a compilation of the entire Falcon Heavy launch that you can watch as well. But I'd highly suggest watching the actual full one, because hearing the crowd in the background, it gets you excited. Like it makes you feel like you're part of something bigger. It's really, really cool. Really, really exciting. So yeah, I love space. I'm probably going to be doing another one or two of these sometime within the next good few weeks or something, because there's so much that you can talk about when it comes to space and all the different stuff. So I definitely appreciate it. If you checked it out, let me know what you think. If you liked it, let me know. And yeah, see you later.